No one expected a cowboy hat and a country beat to change music forever, but when Old Town Road went viral, Lil Nas X became the most unlikely superstar of his generation. In just a few months, the world went from not knowing his name to witnessing him break Billboard records and rewrite the rules of pop culture. But success was only the beginning of the storm. With Montero, Call Me By Your Name, he slid down a pole into hell and danced with the devil, sparking outrage from religious groups and igniting one of the most heated cultural debates of the decade. Then came the infamous Satan's Shoes, complete with a drop of human blood, lawsuits, and global headlines. Was Lil Nas X a marketing genius pushing boundaries, or a young artist sacrificing his soul for shock value? Behind the memes and the trolling tweets lies a much darker truth about fame, identity, and the price of provocation. To understand Lil Nas X, you have to understand the unlikely path that brought him from obscurity to the center of global controversy. Born Montero Lamar Hill in Lithia Springs, Georgia, in 1999, he grew up quiet, creative, and often isolated. He has spoken openly about how childhood loneliness shaped him, how he retreated into the internet as both refuge and playground. Platforms like Twitter, Tumblr, and later TikTok were not just outlets, they became the laboratories where he learned how to master attention in the digital age. Before music, Montero was already a student of virality. He knew how memes spread, how to stir conversations, how to troll just enough to stay trending. That instinct would later become his greatest weapon. In 2018, while living with his sister and struggling financially, he purchased the beat for what would become Old Town Road for just $30 online. What followed was a cultural earthquake. Old Town Road defied every label. It was part country, part rap, part meme, and completely irresistible. Initially dismissed by Nashville gatekeepers, the track found its home on TikTok, where kids across the globe turned it into a viral sensation. By April 2019, it topped the Billboard Hot 100, staying there for a record-shattering 19 weeks. Lil Nas X, the once anonymous teenager from Atlanta's outskirts, was suddenly a household name, posing with Billy Ray Cyrus at the Grammys and representing a new kind of internet-born stardom. But as fast as he rose, the backlash began. Lil Nas X had publicly come out as gay in 2019, making him one of the few openly queer black men in hip-hop and country-adjacent spaces. The announcement was both revolutionary and dangerous. Supporters hailed him as a trailblazer. Critics sharpened their knives. Behind the cowboy hat and wide grin was a young man who knew his identity would both empower and endanger him. When Montero, Call Me By Your Name dropped in 2021, Lil Nas X stopped being just a star, he became a cultural lightning rod. The music video, in which he's seen sliding down a pole to hell and giving a lap dance to Satan, wasn't just provocative, it was a declaration. He was no longer asking for space in the industry, he was demanding it. Some praised it as bold queer representation, while others condemned it as blasphemy. The controversy only grew with the launch of Satan's Shoes, a limited sneaker drop containing alleged drops of human blood, which led to a lawsuit from Nike and a firestorm of headlines. The stage was set, Lil Nas X was no longer simply an artist. He was a symbol of defiance, a provocateur, and a magnet for culture wars. But behind the spectacle lies the tension that drives his story. Is he truly free, or has fame trapped him in a cycle where every new move must be louder, bolder, and more shocking than the last? Lil Nas X's rise was unlike anything the music industry had seen. Old Town Road wasn't just a hit, it was a phenomenon. Kids, parents, even grandparents danced to it. It united country and rap fans who had never shared a playlist. At first, Nashville rejected the song from its country charts, sparking debates about race and genre. But instead of sinking the track, the controversy catapulted it into history. The remix with Billy Ray Cyrus became a pop culture moment, and by the summer of 2019, Lil Nas X was no longer an internet meme, he was a global superstar. At the peak of his fame, Montero made another bold move, he came out publicly as gay. For an industry often hostile toward LGBTQ+ voices, especially in rap, this was both revolutionary and risky. Some praised him as a hero, while others attacked him online. Lil Nas X leaned into the backlash, using humor and trolling to disarm his critics. Every insult became fuel, every controversy another spotlight. But with every rise comes a fall. His 2021 single Montero, Call Me By Your Name, turned him from meme king to lightning rod. The video, him sliding down a pole into hell and seducing Satan, ignited a firestorm. Religious groups accused him of promoting devil worship. Politicians denounced him. On social media, he was both vilified and celebrated, depending on which side of the cultural divide you stood on. The flames grew hotter with the launch of the infamous Satan shoes, custom Nike Air Max 97s allegedly containing a drop of human blood. Only 666 pairs were made, priced at $1,018, and they sold out instantly. Nike, furious about the unauthorized collaboration, sued. The headlines were everywhere. Lil Nas X wasn't just pushing buttons, he was detonating them. But behind the provocations, the cracks began to show. Critics accused him of relying on shock value instead of artistry. Some wondered if he was becoming trapped by the need to outdo himself with each release. Could he continue to escalate without burning out? His playful online persona masked the pressure of being both a queer icon and a marketing genius expected to constantly deliver viral moments. By 2022, the narrative around Lil Nas X was divided. Fans celebrated him as fearless, while detractors dismissed him as manufactured controversy. His career hadn't collapsed, his album Montero was a success, but the backlash was intense, and the weight of expectation heavier than ever. This was Lil Nas X's paradox, adored for his defiance, condemned for the same. He had forced his way into the spotlight, but staying there meant he could never stop provoking, never stop shocking. And that, more than anything, was the trap. The dark truth about Lil Nas X is that his story is not just about a young artist pushing boundaries, it's about the crushing weight of always having to perform defiance. For Montero, provocation became survival. Every success seemed tied not only to his talent, but to how far he was willing to push the line between art and outrage. The Montero, Call Me By Your Name, video was more than a music video, it was a declaration of identity in a world that often tried to erase him. But the backlash was brutal. Conservative commentators called him the face of moral decay. Religious leaders labeled him a danger to youth. Politicians tweeted condemnations. At just 21, Lil Nas X found himself at the center of a cultural war far larger than music. The Satan shoes scandal only amplified the storm. What began as a collaboration intended to troll his critics spiraled into a global firestorm. Lawsuits, threats, and an avalanche of headlines painted him as both villain and visionary. He laughed through much of it publicly, posting memes and sarcastic tweets, but privately the pressure was enormous. To be Lil Nas X meant to never break character, to never let the mask slip, even when the hate poured in by the millions. This is the emotional peak of his story, the realization that fame had chained him to controversy. For an introverted boy who once hid in the corners of the internet, the spotlight was both gift and curse. His identity, his blackness, his queerness, his defiance, made him an icon, but also a target. Every performance was dissected, every lyric a battlefield. His existence alone was enough to spark outrage, and he knew it. What happens when an artist becomes trapped in a cycle where the world only expects shock? When silence means irrelevance, but each provocation invites more hate. The darkest truth is that Lil Nas X was forced into a role he never fully chose, not just entertainer, but cultural warrior. And while he has embraced the chaos with humor and wit, the toll on his humanity remains unseen. Because behind the memes, behind the trolling tweets and outlandish videos, there is still Montero Lamar Hill, the quiet kid from Georgia who just wanted to make music. And the question that lingers is whether the world will ever let him be just that. At Hidden Fame, we see Lil Nas X as more than just a provocateur chasing headlines. He is both the product and the victim of a culture that rewards shock and punishes vulnerability. His boldness is often dismissed as gimmick, yet what critics fail to see is that every outrageous act is also a shield. In an industry that thrives on controversy, Lil Nas X has learned to weaponize it before it consumes him. The official narrative says he's a marketing genius who manipulates outrage for clicks. And yes, there's truth in that. But it's also. At Hidden Fame, we see Lil Nas X as more than just a provocateur chasing headlines. He is both the product and the victim of a culture that rewards shock and punishes vulnerability. His boldness is often dismissed as gimmick, yet what critics fail to see is that every outrageous act is also a shield. In an industry that thrives on controversy, Lil Nas X has learned to weaponize it before it consumes him. The official narrative says he's a marketing genius who manipulates outrage for clicks. And yes, there's truth in that. But it's also true that he operates in a space where being black, queer, and unapologetically himself is enough to spark fury without any theatrics at all. For Lil Nas X, provocation isn't just branding, it's resistance. It's survival. Yet this survival comes at a cost. He's trapped in a paradox: if he tones it down, the world calls him irrelevant. If he escalates, the world calls him dangerous. Either way, he cannot escape the spotlight he built. This is the double edge of his fame, adored as an icon, condemned as a symbol of cultural decay. The deeper question is not whether Lil Nas X is too much, but whether the world has ever truly been ready for him. Is he really the villain his critics make him out to be, or simply a mirror, reflecting back society's own fears and hypocrisies? And now, we leave it to you. Is Lil Nas X a fearless genius redefining pop culture, or a young man cornered by an industry that demands spectacle at any cost? Lil Nas X's story is still being written, but already it feels like a legend unfolding in real time. From a $30 beat uploaded online to breaking Billboard records, from cowboy hats and viral memes to Satan shoes and cultural firestorms, he has forced the world to pay attention, whether in awe, anger, or confusion. Years from now, people may look back at Old Town Road and laugh at the absurdity of its rise, or debate whether Montero was art or provocation. But what will endure is the courage of a young man who refused to hide, who embraced his identity in an industry that often punishes difference. Lil Nas X may be messy, outrageous, and deliberately shocking, but beneath it all he remains that quiet kid from Georgia who found freedom in music and the internet. Some stories were never meant to be known. But now, you know. Lil Nas X is more than a headline, more than a scandal. He is a reminder that fame, identity, and rebellion are inseparable in today's world. Whether he is celebrated as a trailblazer or condemned as a troublemaker, his legacy is certain: he dared to be unforgettable.